So turn off the television. Put the cat somewhere else. Tell the kids to shush for the next hour. Just shush. You don't have to tell them to be quiet. Just be quiet. Just be quiet. Just shush. Okay? So that's all right, because I want you to get this data. We've got an hour. I want to give you some important facts that are going to help you majorly in your life to understand what's going on. Okay? Now, who am I to be talking about this anyway? As I mentioned at the beginning, I came across this book in 1992 when I was traveling in Germany. I was in college at the time, Dublin City University, studying business studies and personnel management as part of a degree course, okay? And I was interested in really finding out solutions for others. I was kind of like looking for answers to things. I didn't quite have the typical answers that I was being subjected to, which I'll go over in a minute. But I came across this subject. I read the book. Okay, the first time reading it, I'm like, I didn't get everything out of it, but it really clicked with me. And I went, you know what? This makes sense. So I said, let's put it to the test, try it, see does it work. So I tried it, being a scaredy cat at the time, on others. Okay? Tried it on others first. All right? Brilliant, Vincent. Great advertisement. Tried it on others first. And it really did help the person stably. So I helped a lot of people to clear up negative emotions and move on from emotional pain very quickly and stably. Okay? So then I decided, you know what, I'll try this on myself. So I tried it with myself too, and I got huge gain from it. And then that sealed the deal. And so for over 25 years, I've been promoting this subject around the country, been in Cork, all around the country many times, to tell people about the basics so that they know what this is, okay? I'm a trained Dianetics therapist myself, and I'm here just to kind of just give you the basics of what you need to know about this, because there's only a couple of very important basics that most people don't actually know. And this is what I want to tell you. And it's important to get this, all right? So, we're going to just do the first exercise. This is a webinar, okay? So I'm going to be asking for your participation. Now, this first exercise I'm going to ask you to do is a little experiment on how quickly you can use the thumbs up or the wavy hand thing or the little comment box when I ask you this question. Who thinks that your life would be dramatically improved if you could let go of emotional pain more easily? Who thinks that your life would be better? Martina, Nuala, Milan, who else? Am I missing anybody? Jay Doshi, Caroline, Noel. Yous are fast off the mark. Anybody else who can't find that thumbs up, you can pop a little yes in it. Harishankar, thank you. May, gotcha. Camilla, C. Farley, Nikki's Galaxy S10. Okay, folks, thank you. Camilla, Caroline, fantastic. Yes, you know what? I wouldn't be here if the answer to that question wasn't yes, because you know what? It is a fact. If you can move on from emotional pain and get in control of your life, things will go better because you are at the center of your life. How your life is going is dependent upon you. Not necessarily the government, although all these things can have an influence, but you are right in the middle of it. You are right in the middle of your life. And we are going to kind of dig it out and help you to sort this out, okay? Now, quick personal story, and then we'll get into the facts. So, myself, as I mentioned, I grew up in County Kildare. I grew up in the countryside. Not a farmer, but grew up in a farming area, so worked on farms as a young man, as a young kid. So my first job, sowing potatoes. Hard work. Picking potatoes is harder. But anyway, when I was a kid, I was very enthusiastic about things. I had all sorts of emotions, very stubborn, but very happy, very interested, very adventurous, very creative, and very bad temper, as my mother would tell, you know. I remember once I was dragged from a ditch by 3 or 4 people as I just refused to come home. Refused. I don't want to come in from playing outside. Refused. But look, all kids are kind of like that. But I was definitely like that. Now, early teenage years, I suffered some very heavy losses. very unexpected losses. People that I cared about very much, people that I looked up to, were suddenly gone. And I didn't think that the loss of these people would have such a profound effect on me, and I didn't look at it for a long time. But what happened to me afterwards was I became much more introverted. Now look, honestly, I know I'm on camera right now, but I'm generally a quiet guy, generally, okay? But at that point, I got very much more into myself, very withdrawn, trouble communicating, worrying all the time, but I'd never tell anybody, worrying about what people thought about me. Just all sorts of things changed, much more stressed. And so after these things happened, a lot of things changed in my personality. And I was active, but very, very stressed active, if you know what I mean. And so that affected my ability to study. It affected my confidence in myself. It affected my relationship, as I got into a relationship when I was 15 or 16. It went nowhere because I wasn't able to handle it, basically. Just not up to it. Just completely not up to it. And it didn't work out. And so, again, with family as well, okay? Never really kind of brought them up and so forth, but it would have affected them as well. So these losses that I had stuck with me and affected me for a number of years. But I just buried it. I just went, you know what? I'm just not even going to think about that. So I want to ask you a question, and you can pop this into the chat if you don't mind, because I'd like to start off and we make sure that we have what data we need. I want to find out from you right now, why are you here? Why did you come to this webinar? I want you to put that into the chat. Like, what problem are you trying to solve? And what effect is it having on you? So take a moment, please. I want to find out why you are here, personally. I'm not just talking to a bunch. I want to make this a personal webinar for you. Why did you come here tonight? Why did you log in? What do you want to find out about? And based on your answers, I'm going to determine what information I give you and what information I'm just going to not even bother getting into, just to save us time. Because I only want to give you what you're interested in finding out about. Okay? Because this area of emotional pain can go very, very wide. So please, take a moment to type into the chat, what problem are you trying to solve and what effect is it having on you in your life? So I'll give you a moment. Some people are fast typers. Some people aren't. But it's fine. If you type it into the comments, I'm going to wait. And I'll go back over the comments. I read all the comments as we come along. Okay? Okay. So just keep typing them in. I'm just going to read them out as we go. Okay, Nikki. Need help controlling my thoughts. We're going to get into that. Thank you very much, Nikki. Dealing with emotional abuse, manipulation, toxic relationship. Okay, Milan, thank you very much. Okay, let me just make a little note of that one because I want to just pop that into my example because it's not something I kind of put in here. Toxic. Okay, I'm going to show you how that works in there in a few minutes. Emotional pain, much too painful. Okay, Bianca, thank you. We're going to cover that. Noel, the understanding of the loss of my mother 2 months ago, emotional pain. Okay, thank you, Noel. Yeah, we'll get into that. Tatiana, of emotional pain, loss of husband, 4 months, and it doesn't go away. It affects me in a destructive way. Thank you, Tatiana. I'm very, very sorry to hear about your loss, and you too, Noel. We'll cover that. Hari Shankar, father's loss. Thank you so much. Michael, death of a family member. Thank you, Michael. Nuala, dealing with emotional pain of a breakup. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to go over these things. We're going to cover these. C. Farley, peace of mind from toxic relationship. Thank you very much. Caroline, lost my brother years ago. Blame a certain person for a lot of his addiction. Consumed with hate, anger, and now have digestive issues, etc. Full of inflammation. Okay, let me just add this. Remind me if because I wasn't going to include this, but I think it's important how the mind affects the body as well. I'll touch on it. Thank you, Caroline, because the fact is that emotional pain can affect your body. Of course it can. Jay Doshi, letting go of my pain about losing my mum. Thank you very much for that. This is the exact... Folks, a lot of people put down losses and so forth. This is the exact thing that handles that. You're in the right place at the right time. Okay? Caroline, 8 years ago. Thank you, Caroline. That was loss of your brother. Okay, thank you, Caroline. Camilla, anxiety and not dealing with the death of close ones either. Thank you very much. And you'll find that when there are losses, just like what happened to me, personality can change. Personality can go downhill. Okay, thank you very much, Camilla. Caltham, to identify what really started me to have this emotions and anxiety. Yes, we're going to get into that. Bianca, I was strangled by, oh dear. Okay, sorry to hear that. Major trauma. Thank you, Martina. Feel overwhelmed of emotional pain with food. Had a lot of loss in my life. I've dealt with a lot in my life. Okay, understood. Okay, emotionally eat on my emotion. Okay, we're going to cover that. Okay, folks, thank you so much. Apart from one or two little tiny things, we are going to cover all those areas. All right? So thank you so much. And I just want to let you know that the reason I'm here going over this is because of, as I mentioned to you, when I was a teenager and so forth, I did go downhill. I really did. And then I went traveling when I was in college looking for a solution. And as I said, I came across this subject, Dianetics, and it really, really helped me personally. As I said, I helped others first. And then I helped myself with this. And it really, really handled it completely. The losses that I've had. And it hasn't affected me since. And that's the 90s. So the only reason I'm here is because, okay, there's lots of pages, for example, in this book, and I'll show you later about this book as well, is simply, I'm only interested in what works. And what doesn't work, okay, it might be interesting, but let's just get something practical that works, okay? So let's launch straight into this. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is this. You might say, where is this coming from? What's wrong with me? Okay? Like for me, I had that question. I was like, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. So you can relax. You can relax. This stuff isn't coming from you. What, Vincent, not coming from me? No, there is something affecting you without your consent. There is something affecting you without your consent, and I'm going to tell you tonight what that is and what you need to do to handle it. So, let's launch straight into it. Now, who has heard this one? And I'd like to have, we're going to get your thumbs ready. A show of thumbs and hands. YouTube, Derek, relationship breakup 15 years ago. Thank you so much, Derek, from YouTube. Appreciate your input, Derek. Thank you. Son snatched from ex-partner 2 years ago. Never seen him since. Frustration, lack of concentration, mental and emotional abuse from ex. Okay, thank you very much, Lee Murray from Facebook. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to cover this. Now, so show of hands as well. Next one. Who has heard this one? I'm going to leave out the first point. Okay, actually, if anybody is a quick typer and you want to type in what's in the blank here, pop it into the chat there very quickly. If anybody thinks of what I'm going to pop in here, pop it into the chat. See if you know what I'm going to write down. Anybody? Any takers? Yes, yes, yes. Camilla? C. Farley? Caroline? Exactly. Thank you. Time is a great healer. Okay, so, okay, crying is a great healer. Yes, you are right, Bianca. You are right. Good. So, who has heard this? Who has heard this before? Show of hands or the little thumbs. Who has heard time is a great healer? Harshankar? No. Martina? Nikki's? Michael, your hands are up. Nuala? Anybody else? Camilla? Caroline, your hand is up there consistently. So I take it that yours is a yes too. Okay, folks, thank you. Yes, we've all been told this. Time is a great healer. The fact of the matter is this. It is true when you suffer a loss, and I've had some very heavy losses myself, it does take time to cry it out, to cry it out, to cry it out, for as long as is necessary. And for however long period goes by, until you have then gotten it out of your system. Okay? That is natural, and for different people it does take different lengths of time. But what should happen is that when you've had a loss and you've got all that emotion out and you've been upset and it's taken you a couple of weeks or even a couple of months and you know it's taken that time, you should be able to move on with your life. If you feel that you should have been able to get over that loss, you should be able to move on with your life. So why can't you? Why can you not move on with your life? Why is it that a certain thing, you keep getting reminded of this loss, keep getting reminded, every single day you wake up, you feel bad? Or you're thinking about this, or something reminds you, and you keep thinking about it, you keep looking at photos. You know, why is it that you can't move on? So there's a couple of basic reasons for this. Now, I want to just make one little thing clear at the beginning here. I am not going to get into this word, which I really don't like. This word of emotional labels. I'm just not a fan of labels, okay? Oh my God. All the labels that people get. I'm not a fan of labels. I'm not a fan, personally, this is my opinion, of the whole chemical imbalance in your brain theory. Not a fan. Never was. Even as a teenager, I read about, you just feel sad, you go and get a pill for it, and you feel happy again. It didn't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense to me because it just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not going to go down that road at all, giving people labels. He's got emotional frustration disorder. Let's give him doesn't like standing up in front of a mic disorder. Let's give him drinking too much water disorder. Forget about all those disorders right now. I'm not getting into it. Don't like labels. Don't like the whole chemical theory. What I'm going to go over tonight is just basic about more traditional methods of handling these things. Okay? So, let me just go over this thing with you right now. So here is the first basic. You are trying to get along in your life and you are trying to survive. You are trying to survive for yourself, your family, your group, your country, and even mankind. You're trying your best to survive. Okay? Now, the actions that you take based on to survive are coming from whatever emotion you have. Okay? So that's next up the channel. But there's something that comes before emotion, and somebody brought this up in the chat, and that is thought. Okay? So, this is the hierarchy. What you think and your thoughts have a direct effect on your emotion, and these have a direct effect on the actions that you take. Okay? So, I'll go into losses in a minute, so just bear with me. I just want to show you the basic theory here, okay? So if you're thinking, you know what, I am a complete failure. I'll never get anywhere in my life. I'm a total loser. The emotion that is going to follow that is going to be apathy. Like, apathy is like a feeling of, you know what, nothing's going to change. Okay? And then, based on that apathy, the action is going to be no action. Do nothing. If the thought is, you know what, I can handle this. I can be successful. I can do this. The emotion is going to be interest or enthusiasm or cheerfulness, and the actions are going to be constructive. So the way you think affects your emotion directly, and that affects the survival. So this is the primary thing that gets affected when bad things happen to you. So, as you're going through life, you start recording things. And you have this thing called the mind. Okay? And your mind, newsflash, your mind is not your brain. Okay? Your brain is connected to your body It's connected to the nervous system. Yes, if you cut out half the brain, you're going to lose coordination. But no, all the thoughts and memories from your life, how could they be stored in a lump of meat? All right? So, as I mentioned, I'm not into that theory. I'm not into it. Okay? Your mind is a collection of pictures from your past. Simple. When you close your eyes and think about your breakfast this morning, go ahead, try it. Close your eyes and think about your breakfast. Good. Open your eyes. So what you saw there is just a picture, and that picture is a part of your mind. That's what your mind is, a collection of pictures. Now, the problem is this. When you experience a heavy trauma, okay, let me just make some space here. When you experience a heavy loss, you lose a friend, you lose a family member, you get mugged, somebody steals your car, you lose a pet, your boyfriend leaves you for somebody else. What happens is, because too much pain is coming in, this normal recording of memories shuts off and a separate little section kicks in. And so losses and traumatic experiences are stored in a separate compartment, and in Dianetics we call this the reactive mind. Okay? And that reactive mind stores pain and loss. What is the reactive mind? It's a part of your mind that just reacts. It doesn't think. It just reacts. It's basically, reactive just means push button. Okay? So, for example, if you were bitten by a horse when you were 8 years of age, okay? And you've got this bad memory in here of being bitten by a horse, because I can assure you, when that pain comes in, this normal recording shuts off, there's a bit of unconsciousness, and the information gets stored in this separate compartment. You get bitten by a horse when you're 8, and now you're 18 years of age, and you see a similar horse, and you get nervous, or you get stressed out. Why? Because that horse in present time is triggering off this incident from the past. Let's say you almost drowned, okay? So you have an incident here where you almost drowned. You were swimming when you were 10 years of age in the sea, and a wave almost pulled you out and pushed you under for a minute or two. That gets stored here because it's a lot of pain and a lot of shock in a short space of time. And so walking beside swimming pools or a rainy day or going to the coast makes you depressed, not because the coast is depressing or the weather is depressing, but because it is triggering this sometimes without even your knowledge. Let's take another example. Let's say you lose somebody close to you. Let's say you are going out with a guy and he leaves you for your best friend. You're going out with him for 5 years and he says, okay, goodbye, I found somebody else that I love. It just happens to be your best friend, but sorry about that. A massive, massive loss. Massive amount of pain. In the future, the girl tries to get into a new relationship and is in a new relationship, but is more obsessive about this guy and will put up with the most horrible abuse sometimes from this guy because she doesn't want to lose him, because her reactive mind is telling her, you know what, we don't want to lose this guy as well, She's afraid of the same loss. In other words, this guy threatening to leave her if she doesn't behave, all he's doing is triggering this loss. And somebody mentioned in the comments about people who are critical of you. You got somebody who puts you down all the time. They're deliberately, or sometimes not even realizing it, pressing your buttons in your reactive mind. Okay, let's say if you, what else is there? You lose a friend. Let's say a friend of yours passes away, A very, very good friend, okay? And that's 5 years ago. Now you've got a new friend, and you're getting on grand, but your new friend is going away on holiday. And just her going away on holiday triggers off this because you kind of feel like you're going to lose it again. Whereas it's not true. But your reactive mind, as I mentioned, it doesn't really think in terms of now and then. It just thinks every time is the same. All time is the same. Everything's the same, is the same, is the same. So if you've lost somebody close to you, one of the biggest things that keeps that emotional pain in place are the triggers. Let me just get rid of this thing here. Are things in your environment, that sometimes, without you even realizing it, are triggering off the loss and making you feel the same emotion again, because the reactive mind triggers and so forth. There's a course that I'm going to tell you about that I do at the very end of this. And in Module 3, I'm going to tell you about my own personal triggers, what triggers I had for a loss that I experienced, and you will find it amazing, because it was horrendously amazing to me. I didn't think that this was the case. So basically, if you lose somebody and you look at a photograph of that person you lost, it reminds you of the person and you can feel the pain again. Why? Because that picture triggers the loss and you feel it again. That's how the reactive mind works. It's just push button, automatic. Now, if you lose a child, and that was 10 years ago, you could, out of the back of your hearing, just hear a child going past, not realize it, but that sound of that child could also trigger this and trigger it off again, and you would be feeling that emotional pain. So what I'm saying to you is this. The biggest reason for emotional pain sticking is because of triggers in present time that are keeping it alive. It could be a photo, it could be a song, it could be anything. Now, that does not mean that you're going to focus on getting rid of all the triggers, because that's going to be virtually impossible. Maybe you can get rid of some, but it's going to be impossible to get rid of all of them. And I'm going to be going into it in a few minutes, that this is what you need to handle here. This is the source of the issue. Okay? So now my next exercise to you is this. If you're one of the many people who've had a loss and who've shared your loss on this webinar, give me one example of something in your environment that triggers you off. Something that triggers you off. Is it a photograph? Is it a song? Is it being in the room that the person stayed in? So give me one example of something that triggers off your loss. And pop it into the chat if you don't mind. Okay? So just give me one example of something that triggers your loss. But as I mentioned, we're not going to be trying to get rid of all these triggers because it's impossible. And look, people like to have photos around of people that they lost. They like to have that. So you can't just take that away from a person. We're going to focus on handling this stuff here, the stuff that's built up. Okay? Wow, okay. No, lost 10. Had 10 lost my family. Wow, that's terrible to hear, Noel. I'm trying to deal with it now, okay? And Noel, thank you for being here and saying that. I really appreciate it. Right place, right time. Okay? Right place, right time. Instagram, can't decide anything, and that's something funny, but I can feel which way to go, and that's heavenly. Okay, thank you very much, Frank from Instagram. Nuala, communication from family members of X. Good one, yeah? So all it takes is somebody, you've lost your partner, and then the family members of the partner that left or the partner that died trigger it off again, just by a phone call or by being present. It's a very good example, Nuala, thank you. Friends talking about their murders, thank you very much, Noel. Martina, song, photo, house, room, yes, thank you. Caroline, rejection, yes, understood, it just triggers it off again. And Bianca, him texting, calling by coercing me. Okay, yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's done deliberately, unfortunately, because the person knows your buttons. knows what to press, and constantly triggers off that loss. Triggers it, triggers it, triggers. But their only power, such a person's only power, if they want to put you down, their only power is their ability to press your buttons. That's it. That's the only power they have over you, is their ability to press your buttons. And we're going to go into tonight what needs to happen to clear this up. Okay? Harishankar, anybody talking about their father, including in dramas, movies? Thank you very much, Harishankar. And a lot of people get very emotional with movies because it does trigger it off, and it's actually deliberately done often by artists when they're creating movies, is they know that people have had similar experiences and they create a scene just to somewhat reactivate it or trigger it off. Okay? Camilla, memories. Yes, thank you very much. You're thinking about it and so it triggers it. Very good. You're welcome, Bianca. Camilla, Christmas. So that's a really, really good one because, and I experienced this myself as well, Camilla. Christmas, normally the person is there and there's an empty chair and it triggers it off. Okay? Now, so thank you very much for sharing those triggers. I want to tell you something. As I mentioned at the beginning, you should be able to experience a loss if you've lost somebody close to you and cry it out for as long as necessary. And I'm not going to put a time limit on that. You know, for some people it's a few days, a few weeks, maybe some people it's a few months, you know, as long as necessary. But then at some point it should come that that's now handled and now let's move on with life. The problem is, you could be talking about that incident, that one loss for a long time. You keep thinking about it, you keep thinking about it, you keep talking about it, you keep talking about it, and it still doesn't go away. Why? Why does it not go away? And the reason it doesn't go away is because, well, let's just take one of these incidents in this reactive mind. Okay, so we'll just draw this reactive mind again, right? So there's your loss. So you've lost a partner. Normally, when a person is receiving a Dianetics session, we're not just going to be handling one loss. We're going to be handling a chain of losses. Because normally, losses are connected to earlier similar losses. So we had a loss 5 years ago. That's connected to a loss 10 years ago. That's connected to a buried loss 15 years ago. That's connected to another buried loss 20 years ago. These things you're not really thinking about because you've kind of forgotten about them. But the present loss that you are aware of is connected to the chain. And so what's happening is, you're not just addressing, you're not just dealing with the pain from that loss, even though it can be tremendous. Like in a Dianetics session, a person can address one of these losses and get huge benefit and can really, really move on in life. But we are dealing with a chain, and so the pain from this one, plus the pain from this one, plus the pain from this one, is all up here. So let's say 2 weeks ago you lost somebody close to you and it's traumatic and it's going to take you some time to get over that naturally, as I said. But remember, there's a lot of other stuff underneath the surface that these are connected to. There is a chain of incidents. So what we try to do in a Dianetics session is for each session we try to handle a chain. Why? We want to handle a chain because if you get down here to the basic incident or the earliest incident on the chain, you're getting to the root and you're going to clear up this stuff as we're going along. So what I'm saying to you is this. The first reason why people can't get rid of emotional pain is because of the triggers in life which can constantly keep it active and keep it in play. And some of those are things that you know about, and some of those are things that you don't know about. And so you can make an effort to get rid of things that trigger you off and try not to spend as much time with them and so forth. But the main thing is the incident that happened to you. And the second thing is that if you can't move on from a loss and it's happened a long time ago, it means every time that there are earlier, similar, connected losses. And that is the biggest issue. Now, I'm just showing you one chain of incidents. There could be multiple chains, and usually there are. So the loss that you had 2 months ago is just the most recent one that's been added to the chain, and it's locked in place. It is locked. This is why you can't get rid of it. It's locked on the chain. So you're trying to get over a loss, but in many cases, the earlier losses also have to be addressed. I'm not saying that they're more important. Maybe they're not. Maybe they weren't as traumatic, but they do hold the whole thing in place. And what you're doing in Dianetics, as I'll go over on my course, I'll tell you about it later, is you're trying to dig up these things, find them, and clear them up fully. To find them and clear them up fully. And when you do that, all that will blow. And it does not mean that after the session you're going to feel, oh, I'm delighted now that I lost my partner. I feel so happy about it. But you're going to feel the relief and the ability to move on in life and not to be constantly thinking about the past. That is what Dianetics is about. It's helping you to discover this naturally. Naturally. Okay, next thing I want to show you. So these are the two basics, the triggers and the chains of incidents that you cannot see, that are buried, that happened years ago. And in my module 3 of the course, I'll tell you about my own thing. I thought life was fine, there's nothing, I didn't have any losses, and I soon discovered that was wrong. Okay, so those are the two basic things, triggers and chains, okay? Now, next thing I want to go over is this. Who has heard this? And you can give me practice the thumbs thing again. I'll handle it on my own. Okay? I'll handle it on my own. Anybody heard of that? Okay. No, Milan, I'm going to take up your questions in a minute. Anybody heard of that? I handle it on my own. I'll do it myself. I'll sort it out. I'll sort it out myself. I don't need any help. Okay? Just tell me what to do and I'll do it myself. Okay. Leave it with me. Leave it with me. Okay? I'll do it myself. Okay. So thanks a couple of people. Nikki's, Martina, a couple of other people. Milan, I think, and Noel ticked, and Camilla. Okay. I lost it a bit. I'll do it on my own. Now, here's the thing. It's not the most fantastic idea to address these built-up chains on your own, because if you start getting into it and thinking about it, you will often dredge up more stuff that starts affecting you, incidents that you're not even aware of, things that get triggered which weren't triggered before. So it's not the most fantastic idea to handle on your own. What I want to do is I want to show you the approach in Dianetics, and it is the approach of help. Now when people hear the word help, oh yeah, this can help you. Oh yeah, it's just another thing, whatever. I remember the last guy that helped me and he let me down. People are often resistant to help because they've been betrayed in the past, and so they decided you can't trust anybody. Okay? But in Dianetics, there is a technique, and it's called auditing. And the word auditing means to listen and to guide. And in Dianetics auditing, you've got two people, the person who's helping and the person who is receiving the help. They've got their eyes closed, but they're wide awake. And this therapy is the most traditional therapy that we've had since the beginning of time. It's based on communication. We've all shared a problem with a friend and felt better. This therapy is based exactly on that model. But it's worked out in a 10-step procedure on how to help a person handle each one of these losses that they've experienced. Okay? So this person is helping this person using the exact procedure of Dianetics to clear up the pain from the loss. It's done in an exact way, as often as necessary until it is gone. If it does not clear up, it means there is an earlier, similar, connected loss that needs to be uncovered, and usually when you handle this as much as you can, this one is going to pop into view. You do the Dianetics procedure on that one, and again it's based on communication, and this person is just listening and guiding, not giving his opinions, just listening. If that one is handled the way it should be handled, but it's still not clearing up, it means there's an earlier one connected. And so what you want to do is you get to the basic. And so each Dianetics session, you're handling a chain to get to the basic, because this is the root. Once you do that, it's much easier, and the other ones clear up very, very easily, and you can start to move on. I go over this very much more in module 3 of my course, but anyway, that's the basic. And it's a traditional method. It's based on communication, not drugs, not hypnosis. Some people say, is it hypnosis? No, it's not. Wide awake, eyes closed, but returning to the incident. Not just chitter chatter. It's an exact 10-step procedure on how you help somebody clear the pain. And it is done with another person. I'm sorry to tell you that. And it's not a 5-minute job. It's not like Vincent's going to wave a magic wand, bing, 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 bang, there you go, you can move on from your loss now, take care of yourself, all the best. No, it does take a bit of work. It's a little bit horrible sometimes when you're in the middle of it, but it's worth it. And the auditor is there to help you. This is the name of the person, auditor, somebody delivering auditing, to help you to clear it up. Okay, so that's what Dianetics auditing is, and that's what we do to help clear this up. All right, now I want to go over one, and by the way, if you have any questions on this, I'm going to have a question and answer period from 9 o'clock until roughly around 9:30, roughly around that. So if you want to hang on for that and ask me any questions about this, I'll answer all your questions, okay? Now, let me just address this. Oh, let me just see. Murray Lee from Places Yourself and Your Son have been. Okay, thank you very much. There's triggers. So it's not the recent incident that's the biggest issue. It's salt in an old wound. Caroline, the most recent incident could be a hugely traumatic incident. So if I lost somebody 2 months ago, okay, a Dianetics session would address that loss, and I could get a huge amount of benefit from that. And in some cases, that's all that's needed. Use the Dianetics procedure on that loss. But in most cases that I found is that there are earlier, similar, connected losses, and you need to get to the basic on the chain. And you do that by peeling off each one in its turn. All right? So I hope that helps. Okay. Doing it all my life. Okay, thank you, Noel. So talking is the key. Yes, Noel, your answer is right. It is based on communication. Now, Martina mentioned in counselling. I'm going to make a differentiation here between auditing and counselling, okay? Some people mix it up that, like for example, it's not coaching. This person is not coaching, is not telling the person what to think, is not telling the person what's wrong with them. In fact, that's actually forbidden on this procedure. The auditor's job is to listen and to guide through the person through these incidents. The conclusions that this person makes at the end of those come from the person, not this person. And you'll find out why in the Dianetics book. There's a big difference between coaching and auditing. Now I'm going to bring up this thing about counselling. Counselling also, some has been fine, but a lot of it has become just talking about things. It's not exactly set. And also sometimes it involves the counsellor telling the person what's wrong with them. The reason why you're so anxious is because you lost your dog when you were 8. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. The only person who knows is the person sitting on the other chair. He might be right, but it's not his job to tell the person what to think. His job is to help the person to get through these incidents so that the pain can be cleared, and that person will make their own conclusions, because that's the person with the valuable data. It's not to say this person is clueless. This person might know exactly what's going on, but they don't go and tell the person. And the reason for that is explained in Module 4. I'll go into that in more detail, why that exactly is. Okay? Camilla, psychotherapy, not really, because there's avenues that are gone down in psychotherapy that are just not the same thing. They're just not the same thing. Okay? But anyway, in terms of the basics of it, so people say counseling and psychotherapy, the basis of it is 2 people, communication, and a 10-step procedure to help the person to completely clear up losses, and it works. And the results are stable, and you don't have to handle it again, and it's handled, and that's it. It's a done deal. Okay? You don't have to keep talking about the same thing week in, week out, because if you do, you haven't gotten to the bottom of the chain. Okay. Understood, Caroline. Thank you. Good. And look, I'm not saying that other therapies and counselings don't help. Okay? I have just found that in some, there's just too much chitter-chatter. There's too much of this person giving their opinions, this and then you should look at this, you should look at that, because then this person becomes the source of the data instead of this. Anyway, I don't want to skip over. You learn about this in Module 4. Don't try to pull Module 4 out of me now, okay? Okay, now, next thing I want to go over is this. Maybe somebody's heard this before, okay? Maybe you've heard this. Maybe you've heard this one. You know what? I know I've got problems, but I'll handle it tomorrow. Okay? I have no time. I have no time right now. I'm too busy. I'm just too tired. I have no time. I'll handle it tomorrow. I'll take care of it tomorrow. Anybody heard that? Anybody even had that? You know, I'll sort it out tomorrow, or next week when I'm up to it, a couple of months, you know, when I get around to it. Camilla, yes. Milan, yes. Anybody else? Okay. Noel, yes. Yeah, I'll sort it out at some stage in the future. Okay. Martina, yes. Michael, yes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you know what? I'll sort it out at some. I know I'm stressed out. I know I get very upset easily. I know I've got emotional pain, and I'll sort it out at some stage. I will definitely sort it out at some stage. It'll be grand for the moment. It'll be alright. I'll just keep busy and it'll be grand. Yeah, and yes, Nuala, when a person does step away, it does help temporarily, but we're not into temporary solutions here. We want to get in at the root. So you are right. It does help sometimes to step away. That is true. Okay? Because the thing that's in your face, you can sometimes get it to move away by going on a holiday or going for a walk. It kind of moves away a bit. But all it takes is something else to come back in to bring it back in again. A new trigger, bring it back in, bring it back in. We don't want to give temporary solutions. We want to get to the root of the issue. Okay? Now, the problem with this thing of I'll handle it tomorrow is this. Is that there's a person, okay, and they've got this reactive mind, and let's say they only had 2 incidents, okay? 2 things happen to them in their whole life. Every time the person gets stressed out, or one of these get triggered, a new thing gets added to the reactive mind, so it gets bigger. Okay? It gets bigger. So it grows. The more you don't handle these things, the more you don't handle the root, every time they get triggered, a new incident of stress or upset gets added to the reactive mind and it grows. So my question for you is this. Let's say you have emotional pain, affecting you regularly because you've had a severe loss or a severe series of losses, okay? What would it be like in 5 or 10 years' time if you don't handle it? You don't have to write your answer in the chat. Just think about it. If you've got emotional pain constantly affecting you, what's it going to be like in 5 or 10 years' time if you don't handle it? I'll let you answer that yourself, okay? You don't have to write it in the chat. Now, okay, so I'm not going to just leave you stuck in, oh yeah, you're right, it's going to be miserable, whatever, right? I've come here tonight with a solution, and I wanted to tell you about the course that I deliver to help you to understand this more, because the first step is a bit of education about this area of the mind, how it works, and what you need to do to dig yourself out of it, okay? So what I've done is I have put together a course called the Mind Explained course, and I want to show that to you now before we wrap up. Again, it might go a couple of minutes over, but I'll be staying until 9:30, so if anybody's any questions or if I've missed a comment, I'll come back and check it out, okay? So I'm going to share with you my screen right now as I'm doing. Okay, so it's the Mind Explained course. It's 4 modules. It's delivered on a Friday night between 8 and 9. I deliver one module, then the next on the next Friday, and the next on the next Friday, and the next on the next Friday. This coming Friday is module number 4. So if you're interested in joining my course, you would be starting next Friday. And there are 4 modules, so you attend for the 4 Fridays, 1 hour on Zoom following that. Now, if you cannot attend one of them, don't worry. You can catch it the next time around because I deliver it on a circular basis. I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on a circular basis, okay? And if there's, for whatever reason, there's definitely no way you can attend a specific one, you can get a recording of that module, okay? So let me just break it down to you what I'll cover on these modules. Okay, part 1, what is the mind? As I mentioned, most people think it's the brain. I'm just going to go over the basics of what it is and what it isn't. And you are most likely going to agree with it because it makes sense, all right? And I'll go over exactly what goes wrong with the mind, what goes wrong with your thinking, because remember, as I said at the beginning, your thinking affects your emotion, which affects your actions. Part 2, what is the real source of negative emotions and irrational behaviors? So here, we're going to dive into the basic of the chain. And I'm going to tell you what is the real root of what actually started all the trouble. Very interesting. Part 3. What are the deep effects of losses and traumas on one's life? Now, we're going to go into this in a bit more detail. I covered on it, touched on it tonight about losses. Losses are a huge part of what's handled in Dianetics. And the benefit you get from handling even one major loss can be just tremendous. Okay? So I will pop that there, all that data on module number 3. So part 4 is the solution. So in the Dianetics book, it's explained in book 3. The book has got 3 books in it. Book 3, chapter 5. It's got the full 10-step procedure of Dianetics, and you can do that. But on this module, I'm going to show you all the basics that you need to have in place in order to make it work properly and effectively. Okay, so that's going to be the solution. So, as I mentioned, 4 modules. I keep it very, very simple. You're going to be doing it with me, small group. I'll answer any questions that you have, and I will be personally making sure that you, as an individual, fully understand every single section of it. And the idea of this workshop is to increase your understanding of yourself, your understanding of other people around you, and even that is going to help you to become more stable. Okay? Stable and certain about yourself and your life. Okay? So, here's what comes with the course. So, the course is 4 lessons by me on Zoom on a Friday between 8 and 9. Okay? And as I mentioned, if you miss one, you catch it the next time around, or we send you a recording. With that, we have the Dianetics book. So as I mentioned, there is this Dianetics book. It's 500 pages. It's been translated into 50 languages, and this book is sent to you with free shipping, and it contains all the basics that you need to know. I've just touched on a couple of things. I'll take the main points on the modules, but all of the data is in this book, and it is sent to you with the free shipping. Now, together with the book, you also get online or in person, on the phone or whatever, coaching in relation to the book to help you to understand every single chapter of it. And that's for the duration of the length of time you're reading the book. So if you're reading the book 1 week and you get to the end of the book, your coaching goes for that long, or even longer if you want. If you're reading the book for 6 months, the coaching goes on for that length. And so with the Dianetics book, in the background there I've showed you, there's a workbook. I have it here, and it's basically a workbook that you work with the book, and you basically, you can use it in conjunction with the book and with the coaching. Okay, so that workbook comes with it. Okay, so you got the Dianetics book and the coaching that goes with it, and it'll basically help you to understand the book and to basically really get your questions answered from your coach. Okay, and together with that, you also get, so you get the Mind Explained course, which is the 4 lessons, plus the Dianetics book and the coaching, and you get this 10-step procedure guide. Now, this is a fantastic little booklet that was produced in the last couple of years. It basically shows you the 10 steps of the Dianetics procedure. So you can literally take this into a Dianetics session and start using it straight away. And if there's somebody that you want to help, it shows you exactly what questions that you ask so that you can start off getting data so that you know where to begin. So this shows you the exact procedure of Dianetics so that you can use it immediately, and it contains all the basic techniques. It's written in a very, very easy way. Steps 1 to 4, 1 to 10, all in there. Okay? And addressing a loss is here specifically about addressing a loss. Loads of amazing things. Okay? So that's that. Now, the full price of the course is €70. Okay? And that would be for the 4 Mind Explained modules, the Dianetics book, and the coaching for the duration of the time that you're on the actual book with the actual workbook. And that workbook is also going to be sent to you with free shipping. And the 10-step procedure guide. Now, to encourage people to actually get going on it, because sometimes people say, oh, Vincent, that's great, fantastic, I'd love to do it, I'll have a good hour to think about it. All right? What I've done is I've put together, for anybody who enrolls on it tonight before 9:30, and there's going to be a link going up, for anybody who enrolls on it tonight, it's going to be €30. Right? So it's 4 Mind Explained modules, which are an hour each. It's the Dianetics book, and you can choose whatever one of the 50 languages that you want. It's sent to you with free shipping, plus your workbook, plus coaching online with an actual person, not a robot, an actual person who's going to be able to help you to understand all aspects of the book so that you don't have anything that you don't actually get, and the actual procedure guide. So that's the package I've put together for you, this self-help package. It's going to be available until 9:30. And the link has gone up there now on how you can enroll on that. After 9:30, it'll be gone. And the reason I put that there is basically to encourage people to just get going and get started, and get rolling on it. And my promise to you is that I will make absolutely sure that you get the data, and it's kept easy to understand, and that you get what you want to get from it. Okay? Because really and truly, the first step is education. It's education and knowing the basics. And I'll keep it simple. I'll give lots of examples. Won't be going too complicated, and will really help you. Look, if all this course did was helped you to be able to live your life, to be able to succeed, to be able to achieve your goals, I think that would be worth it, won't you? And if all it did was help you to kind of let go of emotional pain and to be able to move on with life, I think that would be worth it too. So folks, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that you have, and you can pop your questions in the actual chat, and I'm going to catch up on some comments that I missed. So I'm going to be keeping that link open there until 9:30. So I would really, really love that everybody who's on the module, on the webinar tonight, enrolls on this. Okay? Enrolls on this. And then I'll be seeing you next Friday night. Not this Friday night because it's module 4, but next Friday night would be your first module. Okay? And you have to be there at 8 o'clock sharp. Okay? 8 o'clock sharp. Not 5 past 8, not 10 past 8. So we do 8 until 9. 8 till 9. That's it. Okay? So, folks, I'm going to, as I said, keep this webinar open for any questions. Officially, I've gone over everything that I wanted to go over with you. So if you don't want to hang on for the questions and answers, that's fine. I want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and thank you for your participation. And everybody on Zoom, I really, really genuinely appreciate you being here and for giving me your time and the chance to tell you about this stuff. Because honestly, my only reason to be here on this is to help you to kind of get a taste of what I got. I want you to get the same gains that I got. That's the only reason I'm doing this. It's not for any other reason. It's because I want you to get the same gains or even more gains than I did. Okay? So, now, yes. So I'm just going to catch up. So, folks, I'm going to just move the question and answer time period here now. Anybody who wants to hang on for it, you can. If you don't, it's fine too. All right? So let me just have a look at the comments. I just want to catch up here. Okay. Yes. Take a step, putting it on the long finger. Yes, no. Okay. Okay, Nuala, got that. Sometimes it's improbably to deal with some. It's unprobably to deal with something on that given time. Okay. I'm going to post the link for this course, and is it free? Yeah, I think I've gone over that with you, Noel. There's the link to the course. Yeah, it's basically €70, but if you enroll it before 9:30 through the link, it's €30, basically. It's €30 for the course. And you know, I do need to kind of charge that because, I mean, the materials do cost money. It does cost money to ship things out. It does cost, you know. So, and you'll value it more. You know, sometimes people get things for free all the time, but they don't value them as much as, you know, when you actually contribute for it. So, yeah, and I think it's reasonable. I think €30 is reasonable. Nuala, the title of the book is Dianetics, as Sylvia just mentioned. Sometimes Sylvia gets in there and answers my questions for me, so she is sharp. And if you have any questions that you don't want to share on the chat, you can also send Sylvia a message, you know. There you go, keep Sylvia busy. Let's see. Or you can have someone willing to help you. Oh yeah, exactly. So she just brought up the thing is once you're on this coaching, that coach can stay in touch with you. If you want to get kind of connected up with somebody to audit, you want to audit them or they want to audit you, you know, they can tell you exactly what you need to do to go about to get that in place. Right? So we don't just dump you with a book and a thing and a see it to take care of yourself. We make sure that you're taken care of right the way through. Okay? And Sylvia says here, if you have more personal questions for Vincent, you can message him directly too. Right, okay. Thank you, but I won't be reading those out broadly. If anybody sends a personal message, I won't be reading it out directly. Okay, folks, so if you have any questions on emotional pain, on what I covered at this webinar tonight, or on this Mind Explained course and the self-help package, please feel free to pop your message into the chat. You're welcome, Michael. You're very welcome. In the meantime, I'm just going to tell you a few stories and, you know, give you a little bit of a flavour about what I got from it personally. So as I mentioned to you, when I was telling you about my story originally, I was in Germany. It was Munich, actually, in 1992, where I came across this book. And at the time, I was a very active guy, actually. I used to do karate and play a bit of soccer, and I was generally a very fast-moving guy. All right? But what I didn't realize was a large portion of that fast-moving guy was tension and stress. So I was kind of nervously stressed. I never even questioned it. I just thought, that's me. I didn't even think of losses having affected me. I just thought, you know what, you're a bit hyperactive, so just, just go on and off, and I would do things without even thinking, and got myself into trouble a few times because of that. Do things without thinking and just nervously active. So, as I mentioned, I use Dianetics with other people first. Play it safe, says Vincent. Play it safe. Use it with others first. See how they get on. And then eventually I went, you know what? I'll just try some of this. We'll see if it works. We'll see if it helps. And you know what? I didn't really think I had many significant losses. At the time, I didn't really think, you know what? Anyway, that happens to people. This is my attitude. That's what happens to people in life. But having gone over, I think I received about maybe 12 hours in different sessions of the auditing. And I eventually hit a major loss that beforehand I didn't think was relevant. But it was actually a major loss. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened to me in that session. All I can tell you is that the person who was auditing me, they had to be very patient. I'll just say that. I go into it a bit more on Module 3, but they had to be a bit patient. But what I got out of that, what I got out of this experience was a recovery of my vitality. And that vitality has not left me since at all. It doesn't mean that every morning I'm jumping out of bed going, yes, give me some egg yolk and a jog around the block and, like Rocky Balboa running up the steps and go, I'm not, it takes me a while to wake up too, but the energy is there, the vitality is there, and it's not like, I don't even have to fake it. I don't have to fake it. I don't have to go, okay, come on, Vincent, you can do it. It's not like that anymore. And I've seen many people who have gone to these modules, who've educated themselves, who've become more certain about themselves, more confident in life. And some of them have actually gone on to train as auditors. Like we do seminars, we deliver professional Dianetics training. Some people have gone on to become trained auditors themselves so that they can actually go on and help other people. And it's really great to see that. The other thing I want to say to you is that one of the things about online modules is that sometimes there's not the interaction. You're just watching a video. But on my modules, there's very much a participation element. I'm not going to ask you to come on camera and going to do a performance. It's just that, just like in the webinar tonight, I will give you a chance to give examples from your own life. So we won't just take a piece of data and I'll shove it down your throat. I'll give you a piece of data and then you can have a look at that and see how it relates to your own life. And then give me the example on the chat. Don't worry, I won't be embarrassing you saying, oh, come on, have a talk or anything like that. It's just basic data. I'll make sure you understand it and I will answer all your questions, every single question. Within reason. If you ask me the question about, what's the diameter of the moon, I am not going to know that. I'll Google it for you. So, look, I want to say to you tonight that, as I mentioned, I'm doing this to help people. I've been doing this since '92. I've gone to Cork. I've been in the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival in Cork for many years, promoting this book. I've been Wexford. I've been to Athboy. All these places in the how far across, been down to Ennis and Limerick, up to Belfast, over to Sligo, I've been all around the country promoting this and introducing people to it. And I've done multiple seminars around the country, primarily in Cork. We've done quite a few in Belfast. We've even done some in some people's houses, primarily hotels. But so we've done seminars around the country, and I've done this only because I was tired of seeing people with no solutions. I was tired of seeing people being told that their problem is they just need a pill. Oh, listen, you've got stress, and therefore you're stuck with that stress now for your life, and therefore just take a few pills and you'll be grand. I just don't like that idea. I don't like it. And so I wanted to give people a chance to find out basic stuff that works. You might read the book and you say, you can read the book and get what you want out of it, The main thing to get is the basics. And when we go over on the modules, the basics, they are going to click with you. Just like they clicked with me, because it's basic knowledge. It's not fancy. It's not like blown out of proportion. It's not claims of, do this, that, and the other. It is basic stuff, and to know that. And then, when you do the modules, you're going to know for yourself whether you want to continue or not. And in most cases, people do. They want to say, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to get something out of it. I'm going to get into this therapy. And look, it takes a little bit of time. It takes time to clear this stuff out because it has taken a long time to get you into this present condition. So for example, if it's taken 30 years for you to get into the condition that you're in right now, it's not going to be handled in 5 minutes. It's not going to be handled with a click of the fingers and somebody telling you to think positive. That might help you temporarily, but taking a walk every day is fine. And it does help, and I do recommend it actually, but it doesn't really get to the root. And it takes a bit of work. But the first step, before you take that step to get in and uncover the root of your problem, the first step is education. This is why we send our kids to school, because we know that if a kid gets a good, stable education, it forms a good base for them to take off in life, once they're educated properly. And so it's the same with this. My theory is, keep it simple, one thing at a time. I just take 4 things from the Dianetics book, just 4, build on it, get you to understand it, and move on to the next one. Right? And then after that, and while you're on the modules, and even you're going to be, like for example, your first module will be next Friday night, okay? And we're going to be, if you enroll on it tonight, we're going to be sending you this book immediately. So it'll be sent out maybe tomorrow, and you'll get it like straight away. And you'll be getting the workbook as well. So you can, while you're waiting for your first module, be already getting the coaching on the book. Okay? You can already be getting the coaching on the book. So you don't have to wait until Friday week. This will be sent out to you immediately, get it in the next couple of days, and you can start straight away. All right? And that coaching is going to be available to you. And it's fantastic because literally, you read a chapter, something you don't understand, send an email. I don't get blah-de-blah. Tell me. Or you want to get a call, somebody to call you, they can call you and help you over the phone, or whatever, or chat, whatever you want. Okay? But the main reason for that is because I want people to get the knowledge first. So that when you know, then you'll go, you'll know whether you want to go or not. What's this phrase? You have to know before you go, or something like that. I think my father used to say, God rest his soul, there's something about that. I can't even think of it now. You have to know the way, but you also have to go the way. Anyway, I can't think of it. Why did I even bring it up with? Okay. Right, let's see. Caroline, you mentioned Scientology. Is that what this is like, Church Scientology? Yeah, Caroline, at the mention at the beginning, people ask me sometimes, is this connected to Scientology, right? This gentleman wrote this book, and it's about the mind and how it works. Okay? This is what this is about, and this is what my modules are about. Scientology is a separate subject. All right? It was developed by this guy after he wrote this book. And it's more about, actually the word itself means knowing how to know. Sciology means a study of knowledge. And it's basically about how to understand relationships with people, about communication, about how to handle an organization, how to achieve your goals. It's all about kind of tools, internal, external tools for life, okay? But that's not what these modules are about. These modules are about what I went over with you in terms of the Dianetics book. Because one thing, I want to just show you this really quick, and this might help to answer your question a bit more. What I went over tonight is you have this thing called a mind, okay? And what we go over on the modules is this thing called the reactive mind, okay? Now, when this gentleman, L. Ron Hubbard, finished off his research and worked out the procedure and what you do, like any great person of knowledge or of research, you don't just do research and then that's it, good luck to you, put up your hat and say, listen, I've done everything, I know everything in the whole world, that's it, take care of yourself. This guy went on to do more and more research, okay? And what he found out, there's an extra piece to the puzzle. So you've got this thing called body, okay? And what I went over tonight is about the root of emotional pain. And I assure you, this is the root, and this is what you need to know, is the reactive mind. So this is number one, the body, and you have this thing called the mind, and then you have this compartment of the mind called the reactive mind, okay? Now, in terms of the further research he did, he wanted to look into, and it was actually a question I had as well when I started off this. When you're thinking about something, like when you have your eyes closed, I asked people to do a little test earlier on. I asked them, close your eyes and see if you can remember your breakfast. Or was it breakfast? Yeah, it was breakfast. And then you should have got a picture of the breakfast, right? But the question is, who is looking at the picture? Who is looking at the picture? It's not your body because your eyes were closed, okay? It wasn't your eyes. Your eyes weren't looking at the picture. And it wasn't the pictures looking at the picture. It was basically you, okay? Now, you can call that you whatever you want. You can call it the spirit. You can call it life force. You can call it life energy. You can call it the soul. You can call it, and in French they call it élan vital or life force, okay? I just call it you, yourself. So when you get into that territory, you're in the field of, it's just a different, more to do with philosophy rather than the mind. And so what my modules cover are basically these things. It's just simple, basic things. I just don't want people to get too complicated about things. Just keep it simple, keep it basic. All you want to do is find a solution to the issue. Okay? Okay. Now, folks, so I hope that answered the question there, Caroline. Now, I'm going to wrap up now. It's almost 9:30. The chat, I didn't see any other questions coming in, so I really appreciate it. The chat's going to stay open. That link is going to stay up there until 9:30. So if anybody wants to enroll on the course, you can use that link. And I really, really do hope that everybody enrolls because I want to see all of you there. Okay? So we're going to wrap up now. Thank you, Sylvia, for that. Let me just see, we've got everybody who's left. Oh, because Dorothy, thank you for staying. Caroline, thank you for staying. Bianca, thank you for staying. I thought there was about like 20 people there, but there's 3 of you left. And I'm talking away. So folks, thank you so much for being with me tonight. I wish you an absolutely beautiful rest of your evening. And I really do hope to see you at the modules. Okay? So, thanks a million. Bye for now.